FlyRoute's mission is to help visionary athletic programs like yours win more by utilizing drone technology. And we accomplish this in two ways. You can either hire us, where we will provide a dedicated drone pilot resource for all of your home and away games, or you can do it yourself and use our online training as well as our drone store.
One thing about FlyRoute drone is you know the quality you're going to get. FlyRoute does a great job. We're going to use FlyRoute as long as I'm here. Good customer service, just a really easy and good company to work with.
Yeah, I just think anybody that's looking into it, like, you just got to give it a shot. I mean, try it out for a camp or whatever. I just don't think you would see anything better than what we have. And I know that when we go out of state and we use our drone footage, and other coaches who don't use it, everyone says it's just a game changer when they see it.
Thank you so much for choosing FlyRoute. We can't wait to serve your team. Visit us on our contact page on our website, and we'll see you on the field. And remember, take flight, win more.
Hey everybody, Dawn Zoldi here, CEO of P3 Tech Consulting and your host of the Dawn of Autonomy podcast. What a great video. I mean, we are here with FlyRoute. This is the best of 2024 as we round out an amazing year on the show. And today we have with us Collin Caffrey. He is the founder and CEO of this amazing Colorado-based company. Yay! So glad to have him on the show. Good to have you, Collin.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Hey, everyone.
Collin, you and I met several years ago, I feel like, and it was in Colorado. I think maybe it was like somehow affiliated with UAS Colorado at some point. But I just remember, or maybe it was even with Wings Over the Rockies Museum. My neurons are firing, and I feel like it was there where they had like a drone career day. And I remember seeing you and your booth and going up and being like, what do you do? And you were like, well, we have this very specific use case around sporting events. And I was like, this is so cool. I've got a family of athletes, everybody in my household, and my husband is a coach. And I'm like, man, this is something really needed. So Collin, thanks so much for being on the show. First of all, before we get into FlyRoute and all the amazing things you're doing, tell everybody a little bit about yourself first.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, name's Collin, founder and president of FlyRoute, and my background's in private aviation. So worked in private aviation for about 10 years and went from fueling and towing aircraft out at private airports to working in sales and operations, and started the company back in 2017. And you're right, I'm not sure what it is about the Colorado market, but great market for drones and operators, and love being here.
So that's so interesting that you went from private aviation over to the drone world. What kind of sparked your interest? And you're talking 2017, so this is like a year after Part 107 was published.
Yeah, so it really, going into the drone space, it was for me just an opportunity to get into a market space that I'd never been in before. And seeing how the innovation, technology, all the things that really make this space unique. I got a picture of the Wright brothers behind me, so I think we're in the bleeding edge of technology. So for me, I really wanted to get into a space where you can shape and mold the future of kind of what we're doing. And athletics was something we'll touch on and get into, but really just wanted to be in a space of innovation and entrepreneurship. Well,
that's a great segue to the next question then. What inspired you to create FlyRoute?
Yeah, just really with the company in the early days, it was formerly called Angel Hawk. So I have a background in search and rescue, and I think, when we met, that's what the company was called. Right. So really had, even though we were serving athletic programs at the time in 2017, my background in search and rescue, I really wanted to kind of gear it more towards that approach and using drones to help save lives. And what I quickly found was that it was a lot more of a consulting, volunteer-based type of work. And as many that can relate, we fall under the category of drone service providers. So sometimes when you're waiting for the phone call to ring to go pick up a job, it can be very difficult to get the wheels turning on that. So that was the impetus, was getting into the entrepreneurship world, getting into search and rescue. Did a few other things as well, as far as marketing, building inspections, things like that. But really the start of the athletic side was, had a family friend who invited me out to a local football program and filming their practices. And it's a lot like a cable cam. If you watch an NFL game where you're over the top, you're looking at all the athletes. So at the high school level, where you can't set up a cable cam, it really helps to be able to get that over the head. You know, you can see all 22 players for football. And once I saw the value add of how this makes coaches' lives so much easier, I was like, well, we're off to the races now. At this point, coaches were talking to each other and they're sharing film and saying, hey, where'd you get this? And so that to me was where that was a light bulb moment of like, okay, we're onto something. We can really provide value. And that at the end of the day really gets, you know, my juices flowing when, you know, you've got a service that you're offering, there's value there, and you're seeing how this is bettering coaches' lives, it's bettering athletes, and that's really exciting for me.
Yeah, I love this picture. Is that you, by the way?
I'm not seeing it pop up.
Okay,
I don't know if
it's there's a tent, drones for athletics, and a pilot in a blue vest flying looks like a drone over at a stadium.
that's one of our pilots, Alex Barr here locally. He's been a great pilot of ours. So yeah, he's out at a football game under a tent. He's hooked into a sideline replay system. So he's broadcasting the feed from the drone to the coaches on the sideline. And that was one of our local training events where we were training about 30 new contract drone pilots to be able to offer that service to the teams.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. So you're not only maybe allowing the coaches to upload this into Max Preps or one of these systems that you said the coaches are sharing the film. They do. I mean, I've got one in my house, so I know like when he's scouting and when he's looking, you know, prepping for a game, and he's a lacrosse coach, by the way, former football coach. You know, the other coach will theoretically share that film from their last game with him. But you're also doing it in real time on the sideline where coaches can see. That's amazing. And you just said you're training up 30 pilots. So let's talk about this journey, because you guys have evolved not just from Angel Hawk and search and rescue and some kind of, you know, a bunch of different various markets to really laser locked on this sporting event type imagery. You know, let's talk about that evolution and how you guys have grown since your inception in 2017.
Yeah, the growth, you know, there's uncomfortable moments with it, which I think is part of the process. You know, as anyone who's in business, you reach those points where you're like, you kind of swallow your heart a little bit, and you're like, I don't know how the heck we're going to deliver on this. That for me was back in 2019. So started the company in 2017 with just one team that I was serving on my own. Realized pretty quickly that, you know, I'm my own worst enemy. I'm the limiting factor in all of this. All I can do is go out there and provide this service. I'm not helping the demand. I'm not helping coaches. I'm not helping other pilots become the best version of themselves. So for me, when I sat down, there was a Jeffco school district here in Colorado.
Oh yeah,
called me into their yeah, they have they're the largest school district here, and they called me into a meeting with all of their athletic directors and coaches, and sat down with about 20 people in a boardroom. This was pre-COVID, so we weren't doing virtual
right. Yeah,
stuff
when you
much,
said 2019, my brain went right there. But keep going.
Yeah, exactly. So little daunting, but you know, I went into that briefing with the coaches and athletic directors, and really just looked at the room before we started the presentation. And, you know, I said, hey, if we can land this deal and we can get 10 new schools on board from having previously just one or two schools, this is really what's going to shape and make this business viable. So went into that meeting, and it went really well. You know, the fortunate thing for us and what we do in the athletic space is that coming from my private aviation background, where I was doing a lot of cold calling and trying to sell somebody on a very expensive, high ticket service or an offering, this more so kind of sold itself. So coaches were already seeing the film. Once they saw it, they were sold. It's more of just a, hey, are you trustworthy? Can you deliver on what you're promising? And so that was kind of more of the direction of the conversation, and trying to establish a price point that was going to work for them, and really meet them where they were at and help them achieve their goals as far as what they were trying to do with their teams. So yeah, like I mentioned, back to your question, it was one school. Fast forward to today in Denver, we're currently supporting 65 high school football programs.
Wow.
And then just like with your husband, we support lacrosse as well. So that's a big offering of ours. Would like to get some more into collegiate sports. We also just launched our Nashville location last year. So shout out to Chris out there if you're listening. And he did a great job serving 3 local high school football programs in Nashville. So and that's kind of the direction we're steering towards, is launching new locations. So really excited about that.
Well, I think it's a great point. Yeah, I know we were going to maybe talk about it later, Colin, but just up front, because this is really all about your evolution and the latest updates in the company. Let's talk about this ownership program, because you just mentioned Nashville. You said this is the direction you're now going. You've been hugely successful in Colorado with all the programs you've able to secure, despite COVID, right? You had to kind of overcome that year. Like fast forward to 2021, I'm sure is when it really started to exponentially grow. Tell us a little bit about like this new direction and this ownership program.
Absolutely. Well, I'm really excited about it. To me, when I think back to the early days in the business, it was a lot of really struggling to find traction. I think that there's a lot of great entrepreneurs and great people that are getting into the drone space, wanting to launch their own drone service business. And I can empathize with the struggles of it, because for me, for the first about 4 years, I couldn't go full time at this. It was a side hustle until about 4 years in. We're now coming up on our 8-year mark. So it took a lot
Wow,
of
eight
time for me to
years.
get it going. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've kind of gotten over some of the humps. So I'm very optimistic about that. And yeah, with the early days of trying to find traction with finding customers, having reoccurring, predictable revenues, and really having something that you can reliably quit your full-time job with and go at this full-time. That's what this opportunity has provided to me. So I'm really excited to be able to provide that opportunity to others. And just seeing kind of the trajectory, Chris is on in Nashville, and we're looking at Philadelphia and
Philly,
Alabama,
no. Did
Florida.
you know I'm from Philly?
Oh, I didn't know that.
I
No, no.
am.
We'll be out there. Yeah, we'll have to do a on-site episode out there on the field or something.
I've got so many buddies in Philly too, like and Jersey, of course. Dave Krause from Influential Drones is in the Jersey area. My former graphic assistant Ashley Cooper is out there doing some training with folks, so there might be some great connections. Yeah, and of course our producer Mike Peel works with UPenn and drives down there regularly from New York, so lots of connections in that area. That's super cool.
Oh yeah. Well, and it's a different world as far as the athletics goes, like I don't think lacrosse is quite as big here, but then when you go out to the East Coast, it's like one of the biggest things. It's amazing how it can differ from where you go.
Yeah,
One of
East
the hurdles
Coast.
we're kind of up against is that you can't fly drones in game in all states. So that kind of tells you we're at the bleeding edge of technology, in that, not everybody, like Texas and California, for example, currently don't allow it. But it's definitely trending itself in the direction of becoming the new norm for film in game. But we're getting there, year over year.
So I want to hit that kind of legal regulatory piece in a second, but before we do, I really want to kind of lock down so folks out there understand this ownership opportunity. How does it work, Colin? Is this like a franchise model, or what exactly is the model? And if I'm someone that wants to open up a FlyRoute location, just say in Kansas City or somewhere, how do I do that?
Yeah, it's very similar. I always throw out the word franchise because it's very similar to that. We actually set it up as an equity partnership, which I think lends itself more nicely to what we're doing, because it really gives us an opportunity to not just be I guess a franchisor that's kind of licensing our name and abilities, but we're more of a in the trenches partner. Day to day, we're meeting with our owners on a very regular basis. We're making sure that we're giving them the tools and resources, and getting that constant feedback. I know with the franchise type model, there's a lot of pressure to just grow rapidly and dump fuel on the fire. For us, because we're kind of more of a white glove approach, to where we establish a lot of local, connections and relationships with our coaches, and really meet them where they're at and try to help, with their filming problems. So with that, we want to have a healthy growth curve and kind of start slow and ramp up into a healthy growth. So the model is equity partnership. So there is an initial investment. So we would ask, for use the example of like Kansas City. So an owner in Kansas City would come to us, we'd have a dialogue back and forth, try to get a feel for, are they, entrepreneurial and really ownership minded, and really have a strong like leadership and drive to succeed, and really just kind of have similar values and a mission that we have. And then we also want it to be a two-way dialogue too, to where we can answer a lot of questions that they'd have, and address risks and concerns, and make sure that it's the right fit for them to jump in. There's some risk involved as far as the initial investment goes. And then we offer just the minority stake in the new FlyRoute location. So that individual would become the president of FlyRoute Kansas City, and then we would start a new organization called FlyRoute Nashville. So they would be the president and owner of that location. It really just provides a great opportunity to not only, you can go at this yourself, but really when you are able to learn from the mistakes that we made, and learn from the best practices that other owners are using on a national scale, I think it really paints a picture of, what right looks like. And that's, I think, an exciting opportunity for partnership.
Well, I agree 100%. Look, it's you can always go it alone, but if you're tapped into kind of a larger network, you can also not only leverage that knowledge that you're talking about, Collin, but also that experience, if you will, because 100% guaranteed. I've done sales, right? First thing people are going to ask you, like, so what's my ROI? Like, what are you bringing to the table? And what you've already established just in Colorado, and now you're seeing in Nashville, all that data, the statistics, the success stories, you can bring those forward. I could see where a person that is really tapped into their local community would be a really great person. That's, first of all, like, I guess they don't even need to be a drone pilot, do they? They might be this kind of person that can maybe bring those drone pilots on board if they have the connections with the school board or with those coaches. Is that true? Like, in other words, who's your ideal person to run this kind of a branch, if you will, in another location?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that it lends itself. It seems like a very appealing approach to somebody who, likes to have their full-time job, and then maybe as a drone pilot on the side. However, it's a little bit different than that. And it's not just, being that proficient drone pilot. It's really being a effective, communicator, and effective leader, manager, really someone that's very entrepreneurial minded, looking for creative solutions. There's a sales component to it. I always say there's kind of two sides of the coin when it comes to business management, which it's the visionary and the integrator. So I think that if you can find yourself in one of those two categories, and are okay with tolerating a little bit of risk, and we're really looking for someone that's got the mindset of an owner, and is a top performer, really trying to, excel in whatever field and everything that they do. And then someone that's really self-confident and motivated to kind of see all of those things come together. And, we're there to help. So it's not like, hey, we're going to, slap you on the butt and out the door and, hey, good luck. So there's a lot of strategic decisions that are made along the way. So we're there to help in that. But going back to your question, I think that, for me, I can look back and say, I was more of a salesperson and I needed kind of more of a partner, which I have now in Michael in the operational sense. But if maybe someone comes in and is very operationally minded and is so good about the strategic day-to-day details and they could use some support in the sales category, we can help in that. And also we left an opportunity for them to bring in a partner of their choosing so that they can, really start to just grow and dump fuel on the fire, so to speak.
Yeah, no, makes a lot of sense. And then let me ask you about the opportunities for pilots. So a pilot, for example, can partner with you potentially on this ownership program, but you also have something short of that. In other words, if I'm a pilot just really looking to fly, but I don't want to take on the responsibility, or maybe I don't have the skill sets, right, that you're talking about, Collin, of being a leader that has to go out there or a salesperson has to go out and drum up business. I just want to fly. What are those opportunities for people? Because clearly you have them. You had a picture of like 30, you're training 30 plus pilots. What does that look like?
Yeah. And that's really been a rewarding side of the business for me too, is that, I love getting out there to go fly, hands on the sticks, and, hands get a little cold in the winter months, but that's okay. Cause you're out there under Friday night lights at a football field and you got the crowd noise and it's exhilarating to go out and fly. So I do miss some of that. I'm not doing that nearly as much anymore, but it really excites me to now train others to do that. I had about 3 or 4 years where I was just flying. So really what that looks like is if someone locally in one of our territories has their Part 107 license, we look for that. And then we also look for some experience, maybe flying commercially a bit, that don't have to have a lot of time, or have a not Part 107, but have experience operating DJI model drones is what we use. So we look for a couple of those things. And then after that, we will bring them in on an interview. And then after the interview, we will do a flight practical exam. So we'll go out to a football field. We'll run them through a few different flight tests. And then after successfully passing that test, 4 out of 5, then we will move them on to our training program. So we've got some virtual training that we set up, in-person field training where we'll go out to a scrimmage, get hands-on with the sticks. And there's a lot of opportunities with us because the way we model our business is we set up one drone pilot to one team. So that person is their dedicated pilot for that team. They follow all their home and away games. They develop a rapport with their team, maybe get a little team swag with a hat and a shirt and stuff. So they're out there cheering their team on. And so that's really what that looks like is and then we're helping them become the, best commercial pilot they can. We're teaching them on safety, teaching them on, best practices for checklists and mitigating airspace issues. And we've seen pilots who come to us. We've had 18, 19-year-olds all the way up to those who are retired airline pilots, and we kind of mesh them all together. And it's really cool to see how their career has evolved, just maybe starting with us and what they've become. So I'm really excited about, continuing to do that for other pilots as well. And that's been a great part of the business.
I love how you've created this very unique model of one pilot to one team. So they kind of become like an adjunct member of that coach's staff almost. And really, like you said, I can imagine like wearing the gear, you got the hat, you're part of that community. And that's a real relationship. That's amazing that you do that, Collin. I didn't know that was part of what you did. So that's awesome. So let's talk for a second about safety, because you mentioned it. Obviously, super critical. You've got a whole bunch of different folks out there working with you. Safety is one of those things that I think is why originally the FAA, there's kind of like that no fly rule in general over stadiums. You mentioned a couple states that said, hey, no filming live action high school sporting events like in the stadium and things like this with a drone. Tell me about that journey from a regulatory standpoint to get the approvals you need, not just from the FAA. For example, is this ops over people? I guess is my first question, because we have a rule on that now. We didn't when you started. And then
right.
the second question is, like, what other layers do you have to work through? Because I imagine not only states, cities, municipalities, school districts themselves. So walk us through some of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's really where our experience has lended itself nicely to partnering with others. Cause I think you can maybe look at it from the outside and say, gee, I have a drone, I have a pilot, or I have a 107 and I can go out and do this, and certainly can. But from the school side of things, there's like you mentioned, there's definitely some barriers, some red tape that you have to overcome. So having a professional company that can do that and have experience navigating those waters, I think is been helpful for the school's sake. And yeah, before I just highlight that, we're proud to say we haven't had any accidents in the 8 years we've been operating. We've now filmed over 1,800 sporting events. So the safety piece, like you mentioned, is huge. You asked about the operations over people, and for the model drones that we use, we are above the weight category that will allow us to operate over people. We operate the DJI Air 2S. So what we're doing is we're flying over empty portions of the field. So we're getting kind of a 45-degree angle, if you can imagine a drone flying over the field to the line of scrimmage. So we are over empty portions of the field. We always fly behind the end zone. And then, like you mentioned, with some of the hurdles to overcome beyond just the FAA, we're working really closely with school districts. Risk managers have a really, vested interest in what we're doing. They hear about spinning props and a bunch of people in the crowds. They're like, oh, that doesn't sound very good. Yeah. But really, I mean, the technology is so safe. So a large component of what I do as an owner is really sit down with a lot of these stakeholders in school districts and educate them on drone safety. And I kind of guessed that's how it would go when I got into this, because there's a little bit of a fear of the unknown and what this, technology, what the risk could be, and for good reason, right? It could definitely be something unsafe if not handled properly. So, and to expand on that further, when we see other operators who are out there, maybe it's a student who just got their 107 and the school's letting them do this at their local school. We're less of like, oh, that's competition, and more of, hey, what do you think about the airspace we're flying in, and what do how did the 107 go? How, what are some of the things? We'll talk to them about best practices, and we're open book with letting others know what best practices look like, because ultimately, I just want to see this industry thrive, and really want to see other drone operators do well for themselves. And if we're not helping each other out in that mission, then we're only hurting ourselves when there's potentially an accident that occurs, and maybe they start to pull back on what we're allowed to do as operators. So that's really been a strong approach for us, is to be collaborative and help one another.
Yeah, obviously you bring insurance to the table. I mean, heck, I have to have insurance for my one-day Law Tech Connect event, so like, I get all that. And more than 1,800 sporting events. That's amazing, Collin. Great work there. So can you share with us maybe a success story, or like a testimonial, if you will? We saw some in the video, we heard some, but something maybe that jumps out at you that you haven't had a chance to put up on your website. I know I'm horrible about that. I don't have any testimonials, but people will say stuff all the time. I'm like, gosh, I have to capture that for myself. Do you have like something you can share with us about the value add, the ROI, from the coach's perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. From the coach's side of things, I think I was the same as you. At first, I didn't really seek out some of those testimonials, now we just started, meeting coaches out on the field and asking them, and it's kind of surprising. I mean, I knew there was value there, but until you hear it, it's just like, wow, this is doing more than I really thought it was, behind the scenes. So we had a coach, at a local high school of ours. His name is Coach McGatlin. And when we started up with him in 2019, he was supporting a team, that really, at that point in time, hadn't done a lot as far as like getting to the championships and the playoffs. And so the year that we started on with him, they had a really great run. They went to the championships and ended up winning it. And I was like, well, that's great for the support that we provided. And I hope that actually helped in some capacity. And that coach ended up moving on to one of the biggest schools in the state, that has they're called Valor Christian. And
Big
so
lacrosse program too.
yeah, they're amazing. I mean, you go on their campus, it looks like a college level campus with their stadium. And so I was really happy to see how his career kind of launched from that. And then when he went to that program, he brought us on. At the time, Valor was not using us, and the athletic director wanted to keep it with the students. But when he started on as a coach, he did so much hard work and labor to bring us on. He said, this is a tool that we have to have moving into this program. And he just fought for that. So he was able to bring us on board with Valor. And then he started using us for every facet of their program. So from varsity film to JV film, freshman film, we were filming every game that they have. We're filming 3 practices a week for Valor. And what that's doing is it's enabling all of the coaches to do their jobs really effectively, because they see everything on the field. And we sat down with Coach recently, and he just said, in his testimonial, that once you see it, there's nothing else like it. You can't go back. And he was in the video that was shown earlier, Coach McGatlin. And they're a school that's really sending athletes to play at a higher level in collegiate and professional levels. For those who know football, Christian McCaffrey came out of Valor Christian. He's playing for the 49ers now. So they're pumping out big names, and they need that film to get them to play at the next level. And drone film is really doing that for them. So kudos to Coach McGatlin. Really appreciate you out there.
That is awesome. Wow. That one's hard to top, honestly. So, all right, you've got a lot going on. You've evolved. You got these success stories. You're also, besides the training, Collin, you also do other education in the form of a newsletter. Tell everybody a little bit about that.
Yeah, the newsletter, I actually got this idea from a private aviation company that I was working for, out of Broomfield. So there was a newsletter that one of our salespeople had sent out on a weekly basis, and it takes some time, and it's not maybe so much, you can't see the ROI as far as dollar amounts, and there's a lot of time that goes into getting pictures and getting some video and content. But really, for me, when I was working at the private aviation company, when there was a newsletter that went out, I was like, this is the heartbeat of the company. This is what the culture is. When you're out there doing whatever job you're doing in the industry, you maybe don't see what other people are contributing or what's being done on a higher level from a management perspective, because you're in the trenches. So I kind of wanted to cross the barrier of being fully disclosed as far as what direction the company's going in, really uplifting some of the great efforts that some of our pilots are doing. We had a pilot 2 weeks ago that drove out to, for those that are familiar with Colorado, Durango. So
Yeah,
on
that's
on
out
a
there.
map, it doesn't look that far, but when you're driving through the mountains, it's 7 hours. So,
Oh,
wanted to call out Stephen for driving all the way to Durango and just say what a great effort for supporting his team. And so, yeah, that to me, was really just kind of uplifting the culture of the company, really tying everyone in together, and showcase some of the great talent. There's a lot of great creatives that we have. We've got a drone photo of the week that we showcase. We have the FPV contest that we do on a yearly basis, which isn't necessarily something we offer, as a paid product to the teams, but it's a really great way to kind of drive creativity, uplift people who are really, striving to do something innovative. And that to me has just been really great to see.
so that's cool. So you have like an internal, if you will, football FPV contest that you host. What and these are for your pilots, and like how does that work? Like, what are they? Bragging rights? They get obviously a highlight in the newsletter, maybe on your website. What else?
Yeah, so we do a postseason social at the end of the year where we'll bring all the pilots in together. We'll showcase on a big projector screen all the submissions for the FPV contest. For those that don't know FPV, that's first person view. So you're putting on goggles and it's kind of like a racing drone type perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just an opportunity because if you've seen like the X Games or some of these derby races, that's kind of the latest and greatest camera perspective, is a drone chasing someone who's flying down a mountain or
Yeah.
launching off a jump with the dirt bike. So I thought it'd be really great because we're not doing any of the FPV work at that current time. It's like, well, let's provide some hype videos for the teams. We can have a pilot just volunteer his time for the team, to go out and shoot a hype video. We've had some amazing submissions. We've had guys who are they're flying through the players' legs as they're snapping the ball, and they're following the football through the air and slowing it down so you can see the spiral. And I mean, it's just incredible. Some of the stuff I didn't even imagine would come out of this from a creative approach. But
Yeah.
we'll showcase that at the postseason social. We've got a first, second, and third place prize. So we'll award them. There's a dollar amount for each winner there. Definite bragging rights, like you say, for sure. You want to be the
Yeah.
top FPV pilot. So yeah, that's just been a really great creative outlet for the pilots and kind of creates a really, really nice culture amongst the team.
Yeah, that's super fun. So I imagine that the videos that the coaches are getting from your team are not only being used to prep that team for play, but I imagine they're actually being used in certain respects for marketing as well, right? Because coaches are also salespeople and they're always looking to get that next Collin McCaffrey to come to their school, right? So they can win that next championship. I know a lot of high schools, whether it's lacrosse, football, a lot of these programs have very robust social media presence, whether it's on Instagram primarily, with the videos in particular and the pictures. Are you seeing that coaches are leveraging what you're giving them, not just for the data, but also for that, as you say, the creative kind of aspect for marketing and attracting new athletes to come to their program and get excited about it?
Yeah, we need to get coaches more involved on social media. I don't know. Maybe it's a generational thing, but I think I mean it only helps and not hurts, I think, right? And if you've got a strong Twitter account, a strong Instagram, and you're posting what innovative things your teams are doing. Some do it better than others. I think I would like to see, if I were to guess, probably 40% of coaches are pretty strong in there. I think they spend a lot of time on Twitter. There's a lot of good coaching dialogue and discussion that happens there. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's one of those things that I think when you put those types of things at the forefront, the technology, the sideline replay, the drones, these are the offerings that we're providing for these athletes. It's only going to help them if they're pushing that out there more. And I think that yeah, it's ever changing. So we're trying to keep up with that too. I mean, there's technology that's with the latest drone models and the latest replay systems. And there's a lot of pivoting that has to be done, a lot of staying in the know with technology. So most of our coaches are pretty good about that. We're even seeing, and I didn't expect this when we started this, but even the officials are using the drone film to critique where they're at on the field. We don't charge them for it, but they're using it, and they're talking about it at all their clinics. And so it's helping beyond just the coaches and athletes. It's helping officials. I didn't mention this earlier, but we do live broadcast production as well. So we'll pipe in. We worked with Altitude Sports locally here, which is a professional broadcast company and they had us up on live TV with the drone feed. So I think when the teams see all that, it's like, okay, well, this is something we have to do if we're not going to keep up, with the competition, then we're just going to fall behind.
Yeah, or for, like I said, for recruiting, like that's a place where I want to go because they have that and it makes the team better. So
Exactly.
super cool, Collin. So I know we're getting close to the end of our time together, and I want to make sure that, hey, we are at the end of 2024. You've come so far, not just from the beginning of your company, but this year in particular, right? With the ownership program launch and an announcement and things like this. As you look ahead to next year, what do you see on horizon for FlyRoute? And, of course, I always want to end, Collin, with how people can learn more and how they can reach you. So compound question there, but I'd like to cede the floor to you to kind of do your monologue here to close us out.
Yeah, thanks for asking. I fall victim to the shiny object syndrome, where I see a lot of really cool and unique things, and I'm like, we got to do this, and so I got to get reined in by my partner Michael. But the one thing we agree upon is that we want to have a bigger impact. We want to be able to have more resources and ability to kind of help others achieve their own success, and the things that entrepreneurship and business ownership that has really been provided to me, and I'm just so blessed to have that. I really would like to provide that to others. So our goal is to, within the next 10 years, is to support 800 football programs, or 800 athletic programs, I should say, and be able to serve them in a meaningful basis. So in order to do that, there's a lot of things that have to happen and fall into place, which includes bringing on some other owners and other territories that want to start their own FlyRoute locations. So that's really kind of where I see things going as FlyRoute as a whole. As the industry, I would like to continue the trend we're on, really, to be honest, and seeing more commercial applications for drones, more drone service providers that are just doing great work out there, that are helping each other, being collaborative, and we're all, in this together. So I think looking back 7 years to where we're at now, we're on that trajectory. So as long as everyone's flying safely and really just doing a great job, I think we're on the right track. So, and for those that want to learn more about FlyRoute, definitely jump on our website and all of our socials. FlyRoute.com is the website. Social medias at FlyRoute Drones. And we try to post some unique and interesting content on socials. So we're getting better at that as we move along. But if you want to see what FPV shots look like, jump on our Instagram account and check that out. And for those that are interested in the ownership program, FlyRoute.com/ownership. You can go right there, learn more about it. We have an application button at the bottom there, and would love to just start the dialogue and see where things go, and really excited for that.
Well, that's awesome. We're excited to continue watching you grow and thrive and with the industry, Collin. So thank you so much for sharing your journey and your story with us today. It's really been inspirational how you've taken it from just yourself to about 30 some pilots to, like 1,800 plus games, now in growing across multiple states, more than one sport, football, lacrosse. I can see a future of soccer and all kinds of things, field hockey, you name it, because everybody uses film. And, so this is really exciting. And as the industry continues to grow, I just see great things. So thank you so much. Thank you, everybody out there, for listening in. Reach out to learn more for his newsletter. And that's all she wrote.